All right. I was going to type this all out in Discord and I decided I would just record a video and shoot it over to you. If this is your latest portfolio, I'm just assuming it is. I just want to give a little feedback. As somebody who's looked at a lot of portfolios and has hired people just based on flipping through tons of portfolios, right off the bat, this seems a little bit light just because of the number of projects that I see here. I'm usually looking for 10 solid examples because I would rather see 10 things that are really polished than 20 things that are varying levels of completion. That kind of brings me to probably one of the biggest points about your portfolio here is a lot of these things. This is good work, but it's incomplete, right? What I'm looking at here is the work in progress. It's not the posed, polished beauty shot version of this asset. This Filipino mage, this is the level of polish that your caliber of talent should be showcasing. If you had 10 things like this, and I know that's a big investment of time, but that's what it would take to convince an employer of what your actual skill level is. Cause I know what your skill level is from having worked with you, but somebody who's just going through images on the internet, probably not. Secondarily, a lot of times when I am looking for artists for jobs, I'll grab images like this and just toss them into a folder. So I would highly recommend just making a little format for yourself that has a banner with your name and contact information on it and slap it on every single image. That way, if it ends up going viral on a blog post or somebody posts it on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, look at this awesome guy, they know who the artist was that did it. Or if an art director sends it to somebody else, he's like, here's 5 examples of character artists we're considering for our project. Be like, oh yeah, I like this guy. Here's his contact information. Let me hit him up. For these, fan art's okay, but it always has I don't want to say like a dirty word, but either it resonates a lot with somebody or it feels like a cop out. It's not safe, positive or negative to do fan art, but this is a good example and it's a unique take. Just based on the quality of the execution, I would keep it in here. And again, it's a better presentation than just like T-pose. And I really like your marmoset viewer turnarounds. This is rad. This is a good example that you understand an actual 3D asset, you understand lighting. Like these are really impressive, but they're time consuming. So don't feel like you have to make these, but know that to somebody who has a more technical backing like myself, I'm like, ooh, fancy. So these are two really good assets. You're 20% of the way to a portfolio that really shows off your skills. With a character like this, when I look at this, it feels like a fun little project that you did for yourself. And I say that because when I look at the sculpting on this guy, I see like these soft sort of edges that look unfinished. It's a block in of what a form will be. It's not what you want the thing to be when it's done. You started adding some of the major creases and folds, indicating where things are going to be, and there's still rough sculpting on this guy. So he's a good block in, but it's far from a finished piece of art that you'd want to present in a portfolio. The face, obviously, you put a little more work into that, but the rest of it is it's clearly just poly paint and some rough brushing. Like really getting in there and defining the transitions, the edges, which things are going to be sharp, firm edges, because which parts of the leather are cut and seamed, which parts are folded. Like that kind of stuff is important if you're trying to sell yourself as somebody who can do clothing on characters as a job. So always, if you're going to showcase sculpting, showcase your best sculpting. We already talked about River Wipeout a little bit. And again, this is the one, it's incomplete. This one seems further along and it looks like in this guy, it's got some of the same problems where the sculpting feels like it's being roughed in. You've started indicating some details here, but it's still a little on the squishy side. And you've got stuff like right here where it just terminates into nothing. And obviously it's not painted or textured, laid out, final. And so again, you didn't have enough time to finish it, which is not a good sales pitch for yourself. The anatomy study, it's good, but it's hard for me to tell how much of this did you start from like a Z sphere and model the whole thing out like this? Or did you start from a rough skeleton and then go? Is this Janet Jackson? It looks like her. And then a lot of the anatomy is just a little on the soft side. And I know that it doesn't have to be like everybody's a super cut muscle builder with 0% body fat, but there's a difference between sculpting that looks soft and then like actual body mass that has a little bit of actual fat on it. And so this just looks a little bit like under rendered. You're still on an early pass of this. And so that's just my feedback is the things that you're showcasing in your portfolio. I know what your skill level is, but I don't think this portfolio, if this is what you're showing to potential employers, I don't think it represents what you're capable of doing. So if you could get everything up to this presentation quality, Just look how crisp your textures are here and look at how defined the edges. I can tell that this metal buckle, it physically looks like a different material than the leather strap underneath it. And this leather strap looks like it's a different type of leather than like this cured leather on his little pouches here versus the leather on his pants, which it actually looks a little stiff for pants, honestly, but it doesn't look as beefy as this. And so like I can believe that like gloves and the pants will crease nicely, whereas like the jerkin here and this piece are more like armor. And that's just because of the way you've indicated in your sculpting, which is very good. And I know it's stylized, but your ability to do the different hair blended into the short cut into the shaved hair, into the longer hair, like that's actually a really good demonstration of your ability to suggest different types of grooming, which is important because that's the thing that's going to come up on every character pretty much as a defining feature. And so the fact that you can do that convincingly in this very stylized but realistic base is awesome. So let's get everything up to this. And that would be where I would start. Beyond that, I was asking my wife, hey, do you have any character openings? And she shot me some examples of people she know will be hiring soon. So if you want to talk about that, just hit me up, let me know, and I can drop some leads your way. All right, man. I hope this is helpful. And again, I did this not to criticize anything. It's all critique because I know how talented you are. And I really love to see your work showcased in a way that gets you the kind of reaction that I think your work deserves. All right. Take care.